How's it going, everyone? It's your boy Dak Down Away, aka the Dig Dug himself, and ladies, gents, boys, girls, monster hunters, monster honeys, Doug is the gets, etc, etc, etc. We are fighting today. It's another monster. I really can't pronounce his name. I'm gonna try. It's like Paolumu or Paolumu. I refer to him as Paul, just Paul, or like Paulie, or like whatever, just Paul. But anyway, he's a really interesting fight, really cool monster nonetheless. He's the balloon monster you have seen quite a bit in the trailers, if you did see those trailers. But as it stands, I mean, he's not too bad of a monster, not too bad of a fight. Really interesting fight nonetheless. Very interesting monster, truth be told, because when you really think of it, Monster Hunter is a game where you kind of really enjoy the fact that you have monsters that are actually larger than life, and some of them are just really interesting because you can only do the larger than life thing so many times before you seem to be treading on familiar territory. Sea wyverns like the Rathalos and the Rathian and Diablos, and pretty much for the most part, a lot of the first generation monsters where they kind of all sort of look the same a little bit. It's good to see that they're actually switching up, making it to where it's a bit more variety. There's a bit more variety, I should say, especially when it comes to like flying wyverns and things like that. So as it stands, he is an interesting monster nonetheless. Truth be told, he's not very hard, but he's really cool. Really cool fight. Adds a lot of dynamic to it, and truth be told, again, a lot of truth being told here today. He likes to stay in the air a lot. So if you guys have ever fought Rathalos, or if you've never fought Rathalos, this monster is a very good preparatory monster to fighting Rathalos, because you will be fighting him not really soon, but he's coming up pretty soon. He's coming up pretty soon. Rathalos pretty soon. And there's another monster that's kind of like him who also likes to stay in the air. So by the time you actually get to Rathalos, you should be well versed in fighting monsters who like to stay quite airborne. Now, to combat this, you must actually utilize the flash pods that they give you within the base camp, and the flash pods that you can bring for yourself. So bring your own flash pods, and then take advantage of the easy flash pods they give you in the base camp, so that way you can allow him to meet the ground much quicker than he would normally expect to if you were to do it correctly. Now, in the last video, we talked about, we talked about Tizzy's armor, and I'm wearing Tizzy's armor right now, and he has the skill called Blindsider that allows you to, I guess, use the flash pods more effectively, and I'm going to be trying to use that today in this particular video. Now, I don't know if it really worked as cool as I thought it would work, because truth be told, I never really used flash pods up until like just now. Dead serious. These are my first time using the flash pods, so I didn't actually know the trajectory and how things actually work, so forgive me if I look like a noob doing so. But if you can at least get that particular skill out when you come to fight this guy, that'd be really cool to have. I believe it's on the legs for the Tizzy armor, so just make that and then come fight my man right here, and then you should be really good when it comes to flashing him to bring him back down to earth. Now, his attacks are fairly nah, honestly. The only thing you really have to worry about is when he actually does fly in the air, and he will drop his butt down and he'll do like a tail slam thing, and that does a lot of health. It also does a tremor as well, so you just kind of want to force him to the ground and beat the dog mess out of him, because he's really nothing when he's on the ground. He's only a real annoyance and actually a real fight once he likes to get airborne and focus most of the attacks doing so, being coming from the sky and then dropping himself back to the ground, things like that. Really hard hitting move, I should say. Also, when you do fight him in this area is Area 5. This is where you actually find him. Area 5 is easy to actually locate. Once you start from the base camp number 1, you just take a hard left and just go straight. All the way to 5. Just go straight. Just a straight shot from 1 to 5 if you go left. So it's not very hard to actually find him. But in Area 5, there are sleep toads. So if you guys remember the paratoads that I told you guys about when fighting the Andrew, use sleep toads to your best advantage when fighting him here, because I mean they're available here. You can set up a nice bomb trap or something like that for him to go for the extra damage. I didn't do that because I was thick and I didn't really think about using it just then. And also, I'd like to recommend that if you're going to fight a monster like this who likes to stay airborne quite a bit, I don't necessarily recommend dual blades. They have a hard time fighting monsters that are in the air, and dual blades themselves, they really only get their damage once a monster is actually either grounded or is staying still quite often, which is kind of the reason as to why you don't really see too many paralysis dual blades. And if you do see them, they're not very strong, because if a monster can't move and you're wailing on it with utmost brutality, it's going to die very quickly. But as it stands, yes, this monster does like to fly a lot, like I said 1,000 times already. So dual blades are weapons that have low reach, short reach isn't necessarily recommended. I would recommend things like a lance, the gun lance, the great sword, the insect glaive, especially the insect glaive, that you can bring a monster down a lot more easier. But if you don't want to do any of that, you can actually use the glider mantle. That's correct. If you use the glider mantle, you should have it by now before you come to fight my man right here. I believe the 3rd Fleet Master gives it to you for free. use that to your best advantage to actually jump from areas so that way you can see him in the air and get mounts and things like that. I didn't use it in this quest because I was dumb, I forgot to. I will use it in the next quest that we do that actually has a monster in it that likes to fly in the sky. Damn that monster because he's annoying. Anyway, so we talked about my man enough as is. Also, yo, my man Tizzy's about to show up. I can't remember in this video if he actually flashes him or not, but so Tizzy's gonna show up, get the flash on, and that's that. But anyway, let's talk about his armor and his skills and things like that, because it's actually really decent, really good stuff. I would totally recommend his armor if you're the kind of person who either A, likes to use mix sets, because there's a particular skill on here that I would recommend highly, and that skill is artillery. But let's first talk about windproof. Now, windproof is a really cool skill. It grants protection against wind pressure. Now, if you know this, when you fight a monster who likes to fly, or a monster who can fly, when they take off from the ground, you're left like staggered a bit because of the wind pressure. Windproof reduces the effects of that just a little bit. Now granted, once you get to the later levels, it'll negate it all together and then some. So it's a really cool skill to have, and I would definitely recommend, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's one of those skills that I would say that, yo, if you're gonna get it, at least put it to the back. Remember that a certain monster, a certain part come from this, so that way later on the line you can actually make a set that has like really great windproof, so late game monsters won't be affecting you too much. But next, we're looking at mounting master. So if you guys are about that jumping and hopping and skipping like that we just talked about before, mounting master is going to help you a whole lot, because if you couple that with the glider mantle, you'll be able to mount monsters and bring them back down with greater and much greater, or much, what? I can't talk today. You'll bring them down with great efficiency. You know what I mean? Like, it's easier to mount the monster and to take them down. It works quite well, because when I was grinding this next monster, I won't really mention, I'll just say it in to say the fact that it's a monster. When I was grinding him out, I used the heck out of some mounting master, bro, and it was so easy to do, and it's a lot of fun to actually just jump on and just like disrespect the monster in general. So mounting master on the chest piece, great for a mix set. Next, we're looking at artillery. Now, the artillery is really big because the charge blade is a very, very, very strong weapon right now. So many of you might actually be using charge blade as we speak, and artillery are on the arms. And if you made it to this far in the game, you might be looking for a mix set with artillery, so that way you can probably put artillery. You can use the Andrew legs for artillery and use the Paul arms for artillery, and then probably go get you an artillery charm and boom, artillery god. And there you go. Increases the power of each attack by 10% and reduces weapon fire cooldown by 15% right off the rip. Now each attack, it means for the shells for the gun lance and the files for the charge blade. So each time you use either one of those shells or files, increase the attack by 10%. Once you get down to the very bottom at the god level, so to speak, it's 30%. So great to have, easy to get god too, because I mean I already have a set with it on. I mean, get this armor piece, get the Andrew armor piece, get the artillery talisman, and boom, that's 3 right there, and you already made it. Now next, we're looking at stamina surge, speed stamina recovery by 10%. Not a big deal, pretty straightforward skill, etc, etc. Divine blessing is actually really cool. It has a the thing says it has a predetermined chance of reducing the damage you take. Now when it's active, you can take a random hit. It'll be a random hit, and a random hit will actually do less damage, up to 15% for starters. And then once you get later down the line, it'll be up to like 50 and etc like that. So what I would actually really recommend you guys do, if you have the fair wind charm that has the attack and the divine blessing, couple that with this, and then you're looking at an automatic level 2, reduces damage by 30%. So it's actually really, really cool. So the armor is not that bad. It's actually pretty decent. If anything, if it's not great all by itself, it's totally grand when mixed with other things. Lastly, its weapons are just kind of there, honestly. I mean, they're raw weapons. The attack, and for the most part, most of the sharpness and things like that are on par with other weapons within its own category. It's just that it doesn't have an element, so it kind of loses out in that regard. So you can kind of miss it. I mean, some have affinity, some don't. It's just whatever. They look nice. I mean, I guess if you're into that, they have like hearts and stuff on it. It's all fluffy looking. So if you're kind of that person who like that cutesy stuff, boom, cutesy, fluffy, hardy stuff for you right here. This man has it. So with that being said, that's the armor and things like that. It's not bad gear, it's not great gear, it's just pretty decent gear. And truth be told, I mean, it doesn't have to be like superb, it doesn't have to be like the greatest thing since sliced bread. It just has to be good, and it is good. So with that being said, that's really all I have to say about it. And for the most part, the monster, that's pretty much all I have to say about the monster. I will say this though, if he gets to his home area, like the area that we're in right now, where he's sleeping, he becomes like twice as difficult, which seems to be the running theme with monsters in this game now. Because usually before, when a monster would go to an area to sleep, they would just be in the other area. Now it's like when a monster goes to an area to sleep, they're like in their, if they weren't in their home habitat before, they're definitely in there now. Because a lot of monsters they open new venues of attacks and new venues of like interactions with the environment when they get to this area. And this is another instance in that he will fly up and leave via one of these holes in the roof canopy or whatever, and then he'll come back and sneak attack you a couple of different times. So it's really interesting how they actually added it into the main game overall, having monsters actually have, like, I guess, home bases, if you will, so that way they can actually really let go and really shine for what they really are. So that's really neat. That's really cool. But honestly, that's pretty much all I have for you guys when it comes to this guy. I mean, he's not too tough. He kind of hits a little hard, but just spam mounts, flash bombs, please. If you have to make them on the fly, do so, because you just need him to be on the ground. The more you flash him, the better you're gonna really be off. And honestly, he's another monster that's only one note. He will fly in the air, slap his butt down. That's it. If you flash him, he can't fly in the air, slap his butt down. And when he's on the ground, he's absolutely garbage. He's probably the worst ground attacking monsters I've seen in years. Dead serious. So if you get him on the ground, it's easy pickings and it's totally free. But with that being said, everyone, it's been your boy Dak908, aka the Dick Does himself. I know there's more video to go, but honestly, there's not much else for me to say. I mean, I don't want to drag this out much longer. And between me and you, I got like 5 more videos to make. So I kind of want to, like, get to that. I'm not gonna cut it on the quality. I just need to take care of those. I mean, there's nothing else to say. I mean, like, there's 2 more minutes left in this video and nothing to say. Okay, there's nothing. Just beat on him. He's not hard. Flash bombs, beat on him, and you'll get it. But yeah, it's been your boy. Enjoy the rest of the fight though, for what it's worth. And if you liked the video or anything, let me know. If you didn't like it, please let me know. I need to know. I need your feedback. I need your criticisms, so that way I know what to do, if I'm doing it right, if I'm doing it wrong, etc., etc. But yeah, take care. It's been your boy, guys.